You know, I got to meet Ali one time, and all I remember when I met and shook the man's hand was,
I am the greatest.
He never talked. I mean, at the point, you know, Parkinson's or whatever, the illness had taken over, but I just remember when he extended his hand, and he didn't have to say anything to me. It was a weird vibe, not a weird vibe. It was such a gracious handshake, and it was very. I can't even put a word to it. So I honor.
You felt something.
I felt something powerful from the man.
I must be the greatest. I told the world. I talk to God every day. And God's with me. Can't nobody be a better than me. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I am the king of the world.
I think, this is what I said yesterday, I think if Muhammad Ali had been in the same era as Mike Tyson, he would have been better because Mike Tyson was around. You get better dependent upon who's around you. And when you're in an era, you're kind of defined by your competition. Ali was defined by Joe Frazier and defined by George Foreman and all the guys that he fought, Ken Norton, all those guys that he fought in his era. But it's a different era with Tyson, it's a different era now.
It's time to talk about the greatest boxer of all time, the legendary boxer and icon of the sport, one of the most brilliant and significant figures in the world, not related only to the fighting industry. The undisputed world champion who during his lifetime proudly and deservedly held his title for his incredible contributions to many spheres of human existence. Sit back and relax as you're about to hear the complete story of Muhammad Ali. Please don't forget about the likes, comments with forewords and subscribe to the channel. Here we go.
Ali's a giant. There's nowhere other fighters can match him. He'll die for this shit. He'll die. I'm not gonna die for that.
Childhood, early years and boxing.
Tell me how you came to get such a Roman name as that.
Well, as I understand, I'm Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr, and my great-great-grandfather was a Kentucky slave, and he was named after some great Kentuckian. Well, Cassius Marcellus Clay is a great name in Kentucky. And really, where he was from or where it was all originated, I couldn't tell you. But since I've reached a little fame in boxing, most people want to know where am I from and where did I get that name. But really, I haven't really checked on it. So I see that I'm going to have to go look into
You'll have to look it up.
See what it's all about now that I'm getting a little interviews.
The name of the great man is known even to those who have never been interested in boxing. And yet, we bet that the world-famous phrase, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee,
Bodine, tell him, what are we going to do? You're going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Ah, rumble, young man, rumble. Ah.
is known to every third, if not every second person in our vast world. Over 80 years ago, on January the 17th, 1942, one of the greatest boxers in the world was born, though at that time under a different name, Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. Our hero was born in Louisville, Kentucky. His early years were filled with many challenges and obstacles, which he learned to overcome from the very beginning. His parents were Odessa O'Grady Clay, a simple housewife, and Cassius Clay Sr., a sign and billboard painter. One of his father's ancestors was freed from slavery by a politician and anti-slavery advocate who served as a US ambassador to Russia for several years. Cassius Jr.'s paternal grandparents were John and Sally Ann Clay. Young Cassius attended Central High School in the same town. As a child, our hero suffered from dyslexia, which constantly led to various difficulties with simple things like reading and writing in school. Moreover, this condition continued to affect him throughout most of his life.
How did you come to take up boxing?
Well, I started about 6 years ago. My bicycle was stolen and my cousin was a boxer. He wasn't too successful, but he boxed. And he told me that he would train me if I ever catch the guy that, you know how kids think, if I ever caught the guy that stole my bicycle, well, I would know how to fight, I could defend myself. Well, anyway, he took me to the gym and he quit later, but I kept it up.
In Louisville, of those harsh times, racial inequality was rampant, and it was the hatred of this that led the boy to the boxing gym. His mother even recalled a notable incident when she was denied a drink of water in a store because of her skin color. All these circumstances influenced the worldview and development of young Clay. However, the thing that influenced him the most was the murder of Emmett Till in 1955. At that time, he expressed his discontent publicly by committing an act of vandalism at a railway station in protest. The problems of racism troubled the child from an early age. By the age of 10, he was already questioning why black people in his country were considered second-class citizens. At about the age of 12, the boy visited a local gym and began learning the basics of boxing from the ground up. The person who introduced him to the industry was a police officer and boxing coach, Joe Martin. It's worth mentioning that there's another version of the incident involving a stolen bicycle. In 1954, the boy attended a free lunch program created for low-income families. After lunch, Cassius discovered his bicycle was missing and sought help from this man. Martin noticed the boy's anger at the thief who had stolen his bike. Cassius told him he wanted to beat up the thief, to which Martin responded by advising him to learn how to box. At first, the boy didn't accept Martin's offer. He visited the gym only after seeing amateur boxers on a local TV show called Tomorrow's Champion.
This is Cassius Marcellus Clay. He's young, he's handsome. They know it. He's a poet, a prophet, and many people believe he'll be the next heavyweight champion of the world.
One of the first mentors of our hero was Fred Stoner, who, according to Cassius himself, laid the foundation for his distinctive style and all other components, from endurance to the comprehensive approach of the future legend to the craft of fighting. It's worth noting an interesting fact. The coaches didn't have an easy time with their new student. Cassius constantly demonstrated his explosive character, taunted other kids, and shouted that he was the best of the best. Because of this behavior, the coaches even kicked the boy out of the gym several times. They later openly admitted that they didn't see any championship potential in this rebel. The teenager improves his technique every day with a special focus on endurance. Moreover, he consistently maintained a healthy lifestyle. Instead of taking the bus, Cassius preferred to run to school every day while also watching his diet. From a sports perspective, the young man's future looked very promising. However, he wasn't as successful academically. He even stayed for a second year due to poor performance. Clay managed to graduate high school thanks to the efforts of the principal, who fully supported the young boxer's determination and helped him as much as he could. During the last 4 years of his amateur career, Clay was trained by boxer Chappie Bodak. Before turning 18, the teenager worked tirelessly to improve and become better, amassing over 100 wins and his first trophies in the process. In addition, he was a 6-time Kentucky State Champion, a 2-time National Champion, a silver medalist at the Pan American Games in Chicago, and much more. Cassius competed in the 1960 Olympics in Rome, where he won a gold medal in the light heavyweight division. This award became Clay's main source of pride. He carried it with him everywhere and even wore it to bed. He returned to his hometown of Louisville as a national hero. Hundreds of fans greeted him at the airport. His father painted the steps of their house in the colors of the American flag in honor of his son, and the city's mayor delivered a commendatory speech in his honor. However, one notable episode made Cassius realize that even a champion status couldn't protect him from all problems. In his 1975 autobiography, he recalled throwing this medal into the Ohio River upon his return from the Olympics. The reason was that he was refused service at a local restaurant meant only for white people. The unfortunate incident didn't end without a fight that evening. This sad episode in the cafe strengthened Clay's resentment towards white people and his desire to help others like him, black people from the middle class and especially those from the lowest rungs of society. The boxer dreamed of inspiring youth with his example and promoting the idea that with desire and proper effort, anyone could reach great heights regardless of social status and skin color. For Clay, the Rome Olympics marked the pinnacle of his amateur career. At the major sports event, he defeated opponents from Belgium, Australia, and the USSR, proving once again that he could achieve anything if he stayed on his path. After this, he realized he wanted to dedicate his life to boxing and stepped in on the professional scene.
A lot of my memories are from way back, lots of fun. And so when he came back from the Olympics, I remember he had a brand new car, and he came by in his brand new car. He took us out in his car. And
he used to come by the house all the time to visit us. And he'd be so tall, he had to duck his head down to come in the house.
Professional sports and religion.
October 29, 1960, the pro debut of Cassius Clay. He had signed a 6-year deal with 10 Louisville millionaires who would receive 50% of Clay's earnings. Tunney Hunsaker would become the first victim of the most charismatic athlete in the history of sports.
You already know all the necessary information. At the end of October 1960, Cassius Clay made his professional debut in the professional ring. His opponent was American Tunney Hunsaker. The young and ambitious prospect didn't disappoint anyone that night, including himself. His confidence in his abilities never wavered and wasn't even close to wavering during all the subsequent years of his active career. The 18-year-old boy skillfully and playfully dismantled his opponent, doing everything necessary in 6 dynamic rounds to secure a vivid victory by unanimous decision. The beginning of the great journey was laid decisively.
They think that I am becoming overconfident, but I will never be so overconfident until it would interfere with my training program. I'm gunning for Floyd Patterson and Sonny Liston. And if they get in my way, I will annihilate them also.
At the end of December, our hero faced Herb Seiler, whom he stopped via TKO in the 4th round. Then came January 1961. On the 17th, the gold medalist took down Tony Esperti, who folded his gloves in the 3rd round. Less than a month later, Cassius Clay defeated Jim Robinson, who had nothing to counter the skills of the talented athlete, and lost to him in the first 3-minute round. Since there are no video recordings of these matches, we limit ourselves to their mere mention. 2 weeks later, Donnie Fleeman lost to Cassius in Florida. On April the 19th, Clay stepped into the ring against Lamar Clark. The fight lasted only 2 incomplete rounds, during which our hero repeatedly knocked down his opponent until he ultimately stopped him with an unconditional knockout. Clark ultimately couldn't come back to his senses, and the referee had to help him get back to his feet while the future champion was already celebrating his victory. On June 26th, Cassius Clay performed before the crowd in Las Vegas, delivering a 10-round show with Duke Sabedong. After the given time, the prospect secured another victory by unanimous decision.
Tonight's 10-rounder from the Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center in Louisville, Kentucky, brings together Cassius Clay, 1960 Olympic boxing champion from Louisville, and experienced Alonzo Johnson of Rankin, Pennsylvania. The 19-year-old Clay has made a great start as a professional. He's won all 7 of his fights, 5 of them by knockout.
As the commentator already told us, the next victim of our hero was Alonzo Johnson, who faced him on July the 22nd. Clay wasn't just a talented boxer like many athletes of his and any other era. He had an incredible work ethic and unshakable discipline. These factors led him to become the best performer regardless of weight class, a topic we'll discuss repeatedly. The fight with Johnson deserves special mention also because, despite the short periods of time between matches, the future champion consistently showed rapid growth and progress. His technique became more refined with each bout, his movements sharper and more precise, and his punches increasingly devastating. The developing signature style of Cassius was fully displayed to hundreds and thousands of spectators on a regular basis. He seemed to dance around his opponent, literally floating before him with lowered hands, provoking counterattacks. When Clay managed to provoke the opponent standing opposite him, he easily dodged all wide swings, affecting the opponent's stamina. With Alonzo, our hero managed to dance in this manner for all 10 rounds, earning his 8th professional victory.
Tonight's 10-round heavyweight fight from Freedom Hall at the Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center in Louisville features undefeated Cassius Clay.
On October the 7th, Cassius stepped into the ring to face Alex Mitev. At that time, he dedicated almost all his free time to rigorous training. He wasn't interested in anything but progress and the goal that became his primary focus. achieving worldwide success, universal recognition, and doing everything necessary to support people who need it the most. Noble intentions coupled with clear motivation drove young Cassius towards his goals, and nothing could stop him on this path.
My plan of attack on a fighter like ɑːliː would be 2 fast left jabs, a rapid right cross, and a left hook. And if he's still standing and the referee is not holding him up, then I'm going to run.
The 26-year-old Argentinian looked equally spectacular and agile against a younger opponent, though his style wasn't as invincible. The lightning-fast and elusive Cassius still caused him trouble. He defended well against Clay's combinations, but it didn't last long. With each subsequent round, or even with each passing minute, our hero was pushing the pace and only intensified the quantity and power of his punches. Cassius circled around ɑːliː and in this mesmerizing dance dismantled his opponent with such ease as if he had activated the Sharingan and already knew what move the opponent would make next, allowing him to respond accurately and effectively. In short, throughout the given time, Clay delivered another boxing masterclass, securing a TKO victory.
He doesn't know where he is. They're going to stop it, and they should.
Say it for that.
For that reason.
What's your dad's name?
Muhammad Ali.
In 1962, our hero changed his name to the now globally recognized Muhammad Ali. Along with this, he announced his conversion to Islam. The press did not immediately accept this idea and referred to it as religious hysteria. It should be noted that for some time, Ali still entered the ring under his original name, and the public came to terms with his whims only after he reached the pinnacle of the sport. However, let's not get ahead of ourselves. In fact, Muhammad encountered religious hysteria as early as 1959. This happened after his victory at the Golden Gloves tournament. At that time, the budding boxer was rejected by an Islamic sect. However, with the rise of his popularity, this changed. Over time, thanks to the hype and buzz around his name, the athlete was accepted into the Nation of Islam. As they say, hype solves everything, and religions are no exception to this rule. In November of the same year, the prospect with 9 consecutive victories faced off against the German native Willi Besmanov. Muhammad's exquisite and almost jeweler-like work at the distance, constant feints and relentless pressure from all sides did the job impeccably. With each round, our hero broke down his opponent piece by piece, taking away his health bit by bit. Willi simply did not know how to approach such a mobile opponent with his static style, who constantly stung him from any possible distance. This tactic worked flawlessly, and by the 7th round, the German boxer fell to the canvas. Ali's signature combination shut down his consciousness, along with taking away any chance of victory in this fight. And this is just the beginning, friends. Let us remind you that on this footage, the young man from Kentucky is only 19 years old.
From Louisville, Kentucky, wearing white trunks, weighing 194.5 pounds, the former Olympic champion and undefeated as a professional, Cassius Clay. His opponent from Detroit, Michigan, wearing black trunks, he weighs 191.25 pounds, Sonny Banks.
In February 1962, Muhammad Ali stepped into the ring for his 11th victory. He shared the ring with American Sonny Banks, who also went down in history in a certain way. The physiques of the fighters were very similar. They were both tall, lean, and lanky representatives of boxing with good endurance and excellent mobility. However, Banks was far from matching the footwork of the legend, often trying to converge and work at close range. On his part, Ali actively moved in the ring, circling around the American, trying to confuse him and overload his brain with constant attacks at different levels. Regarding Banks going down in history, it's quite simple. In the first round, Sonny managed to knock Muhammad down, forcing the referee to start a count.
There goes Clay on the floor.
It was nothing serious, But the point is that Banks became the first boxer to put our hero on the canvas. Of course, Ali recovered instantly and rushed to pay back his offender. In the following rounds, the undefeated prospect unleashed his entire arsenal on Sonny, introducing him to hard knockdowns. The difference in their levels could be seen with the naked eye.
Banks was roughed by that left hook. He's getting roughed a little more.
By the fourth round, Banks saw nothing but bright flashes in front of his eyes, leading to his defeat by a TKO.
Yes, that was my first time knockdown as a professional. I had to get up to take care of things after that because it was rather embarrassing me on the floor. And as you know, I think that I'm the greatest and I'm not supposed to be on the floor, so I had to get up and put him on out in 4 as I predicted.
Around the same time, the 20-year-old athlete fully immersed himself in Islam. He began reading Muslim newspapers, regularly attended meetings of the Nation of Islam, which we have already mentioned, and in early 1962, he went to Detroit, where he met with Elijah Muhammad himself, who became his spiritual mentor. As expected, this decision was not appreciated by everyone. Even the future champion's father almost disowned his son, claiming that the so-called sect had brainwashed him. Many black athletes of that time also condemned Muhammad's decision, but he was not troubled by this at all. Moreover, Ali received great support from his brother, who followed in his footsteps, also converting to Islam and changing his name to Rahman. Just 2 weeks after Banks, the prospect performed in Florida, where he also dispatched Don Warner in 4 rounds. Unfortunately, no recordings of that fight are available. George Logan faced the same fate, relinquishing his title on April the 23rd, this time before the audience in Los Angeles. And then it was Billy Daniels' turn, who fought our hero on May the 19th. To be honest, analyzing Muhammad Ali's fights at any stage of his professional path is quite a challenging task, at least because, as with Mike Tyson, the overall picture is almost always the same. Only with Iron Mike, it's an indisputable slaughter in the ring within the first rounds, while with Ali, it's a slightly different situation. Of course, his style couldn't be called perfect, but at that period, it was as close to it as possible. None of Muhammad's opponents managed to adapt to his peculiar footwork and distance control. Constant position changes, movements across the entire ring, relentless attacks from all sides, and an abundance of stinging blows that would inevitably have an effect sooner or later. This is what best characterizes all of the greatest's performance. Eventually, Billy Daniels lasted only 7 rounds, during which our hero dismantled him into small pieces and sent him back to the gym to make up for lost time. Ali is an unreachable figure, a golden standard if you will, which one can only aspire to become. On July the 20th, Cassius Muhammad's resume, as he was still called then because they couldn't accept the seemingly spontaneous name change, was complemented by another highlight. This time the victim was Alejandro Lavarante, who was knocked out in the 5th round. Before his next fight, Ali took a few months to prepare. On November the 15th, he stepped into the ring with one of the longest reigning champions in the sport's history and just the boxer with one of the longest careers in the sport, Archie Moore. Constant feints, distracting maneuvers, fakes, works on the retreat and bombardment of the opponent's head, due to their cumulative effect, demolished yet another threat on the young talent's path. No head movement of the experienced boxer helped him avoid Muhammad's stinging shots. Moore was known for his characteristic defense, where he often placed his forehead under the direct punches of his opponents, but with Ali, this tactic worked the other way around. He didn't limit himself to jabs and crosses, he used hooks, uppercuts, and much more.
Ripping punches by Clay and Moore goes down.
All these strikes were more than enough to repeatedly drop Archie to his knees and force the referee to intervene and stop the fight in the 4th round.
Moore is sent to the canvas again by a barrage of punches. Ripping punches by Cassius Clay, and it's all over.
This man was simply unmatched. both in the ring and in life.
Made him the greatest heavyweight of all time, incidentally, was not boxing skills or even a heavy punch. What made him the greatest fighter of all time was his extraordinary coordination, his speed.
Muhammad Ali earned his 17th professional victory in January 1963. At that time, Charlie Powell stepped into the ring with him, entering it by himself but unable to leave without assistance. Muhammad Ali knocked out the American in the third round and moved on to the new year to continue conquering the entire industry. On March the 13th, the Louisville prospect appeared at Madison Square Garden, where he faced Doug Jones. This bout is well known to Muhammad Ali's fans and admirers, as is rightly called by many people on the internet as the fight of the year. The fighters delivered 10 intense and dynamic rounds, testing each other's endurance and constantly landing deadly punches. Many still claim that the victory that night should have gone to Johnson, as he was practically equal to the 21-year-old prospect in everything. Moreover, he often gave him trouble throughout the evening and did everything in his power to deprive the cheeky youngster of his cherished zero. Nevertheless, we cannot choose a specific side in this matter and prefer to remain unbiased in analysing either party. However, it is hard not to agree with the prevailing opinion that this early version of Muhammad was not yet as perfect and invincible. In other words, it was indeed possible to defeat him. Only a few had the capacity to do so at that time, with a young and light-footed boxer who didn't know the word stop and pressured you with his taunts throughout all the given rounds. We say this to emphasize that no matter what opinion or general impression you or others might have, the fact remains. That night, the victory went to Ali. He earned it by unanimous decision and extended his streak to 18 impressive wins.
One of the most controversial decisions in the past 10 years, as Clay says it all with his mouth.
Henry Cooper's nothing to me. If this bum go over 5 rounds, I won't return to the United States for 30 days.
On June the 18th, Muhammad Ali was offered to fight at Wembley Stadium in London, the homeland of his next opponent, Briton Henry Cooper.
When they held the weigh-in, he picked up a golden cardboard crown left over from some pantomime, stuck it on his head and proclaimed, "I am the king." That night, in the open air of Wembley Stadium, Henry Cooper and Cassius Clay faced each other for a fight which was so remarkable, people still joyfully discuss it today.
This bout is also notable because despite its brevity, it managed to tickle the nerves of the spectators in the stands and those watching the event on TV screens. Let's say right away that our hero's prediction was correct. The fight indeed ended in the 5th round. However, before that, the British boxer managed to knock down the legend and for a moment even believed in his victory. But reality turned out to be different. Ali, as with Sonny Banks, turned up the heat and started working on his opponent's face with all the zeal he could muster. He attacked Cooper from all possible angles and didn't give him a moment to recover. Constantly targeting his head from all sides led to a cut opening around Henry's left eye. This very cut earned Muhammad Ali a win by a TKO in the 5th round. 19-0, friends, and all this in less than 3 years from the start of his professional career.
The date was February 25, 1964. One of the craziest fights in boxing history was preceded by the craziest weigh-in.
I predict that tonight somebody will die at ringside.
February 25th, 1964 became one of the most important days in the entire life of the legendary performer. That night, Muhammad Ali had his long-awaited fight for the World Heavyweight Championship. His opponent was the well-known and fearless Sonny Liston, who was avoided by many experienced boxers of that era. However, this did not apply to our hero. Ali, on the contrary, desired this fight with all his heart. After all, he had been aiming for it throughout all these long years. Even during the preparation stage, the cheeky prospect didn't miss a chance to taunt his future opponent. He mocked him, calling him an ugly bear, and during the weigh-in ceremony, he did some weird stuff. This behavior was called inadequate, insane, and requiring specialist intervention. But it was simpler than it seemed. Later, Ali himself admitted that he did all this deliberately, aiming to confuse Sonny and throw him off balance. He said, "Liston will think I'm a fool. He's not afraid of a man, but a fool scares him. Now he doesn't know what I will do." Another of our favorite quotes by Muhammad goes as follows: "Only last week I murdered a rock, injured a stone, and hospitalized a brick. I'm fast. I'm so fast that last night I turned off the light switch in my hotel room and was in bed before the room was dark. You fools gonna scream when I will knock Sonny Liston out. I'll show you how great I am." Discussing the magnitude of the hype around that event in today's term is quite futile. Even with the vastness and versatility of spoken language, conveying the level of tension, anticipation, and excitement is almost impossible. Nevertheless, we can say that it was a truly triumphant night for the young but already incredibly charming and self-assured boxer who never hesitated to proclaim his greatness. The fight was a spectacle to behold. However, it wasn't without unexpected situations. By the third round, the advantage was totally in Muhammad's favor. He had cut Liston's face under his left eye and created a large hematoma under his right eye. However, by the fourth round, he had his own vision problems. He was screaming in pain across the arena and almost lost his sight. What caused this remains a mystery to this day. During the break before the fifth round, the semi-blind Ali asked his trainer to remove his gloves. Fortunately, Dundee was adamant and forced his protege to continue the fight. As it turned out later, for good reason. By the middle of the fifth round, Ali's eyes had returned to normal, his vision fully recovered, and he unleashed a powerful series of punches on his opponent, continuing to punish Sonny Liston until his health gave out completely. In the end, Muhammad Ali secured one of the most important victories in his professional career. He became the new heavyweight champion and made a huge statement like no one else before him. Subsequently, Ring magazine would recognize this fight as the fight of the year, the fight of the decade, and the disappointment of the decade.
And I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, can't nobody be against me. I shook up the world.
One thing I want to say, I'm not going to down Sonny Liston. He take it good. He's a good loser. I feel sorry for Sonny because you people now don't care much about him now that he has lost. I understand they want to tie up his purse and not give him no money. He needs money, and I'm going to have to go to see him and comfort him. I'm going to have to pay him a visit and talk with him. And as I told you and him, that after the fight, after the world and the press and the people turn him down, I'll still be on his side, and I have a few places I want to take him, and I have a lot to teach him.
In general, young Ali entered the new year of 1965 as a champion. His first title defense was against Sonny Liston, with whom our hero clashed for the second time on May the 25th.
My religion is the only thing that I can give me credit for pulling me through, because 99 out of 100 seemed to see no possibility of me winning. The newspaper reporters and everybody all over the world condemned me. They said it would be a mismatch, and couldn't nobody believe it. So my prayers to Allah and faith in my religion, living a clean, righteous life, I have to say that's what pulled me through.
The rematch, held in the small town of Lewiston, didn't last longer than a round. It took the champion only 2 minutes and 12 seconds to decapitate Sonny Liston in his usual spectacular and unique manner. What made this fight particularly notable was Ali's behavior. After knocking his opponent to the canvas, he began shouting at him. He waved his hands and said, "Get up and fight, you bum! Nobody will believe this crap." Muhammad was so furious that the referee got confused for a moment and, instead of counting the knockdown, started calming the enraged boxer. As more than 10 seconds had passed, the fight was stopped, and thus Ali defended his title for the first, but certainly not the last time.
He did not tell the world that I had a surprise, and that if I told you the surprise, you would not come to the fight. With me was Almighty Allah and His Messenger, and I've been saying my prayers regular, living a righteous life, and as you see, what happened.
The next defense on this rising talent took place on November the 22nd in front of devoted boxing fans in Las Vegas. This time, the contender for the heavyweight gold was American Floyd Patterson.
Floyd Patterson will be no match. He's too short, he's too slow, he don't have the reach, he can't take a punch, he don't hit hard, and he don't have the footwork.
As is well known, Muhammad Ali's first fight with Floyd Patterson went almost the entire distance. However, this doesn't mean it was competitive. Yes, it lasted 12 out of the 15 scheduled rounds, but during that time, it was nothing but pure domination from the champion. Ali outperformed his opponent in every aspect, from basic physical attributes and athleticism to professional skills that left no chance for the challenger. Muhammad circled around Patterson for over half an hour, breaking him down with sniper-like precision. The guy couldn't keep up with Ali's speed, who, after playing with him enough, decided to finish him off with a TKO.
And that's it.
Thereby reaffirming his status in the boxing game.
No, I couldn't knock him out. Why not? Took my best punches. He wouldn't fall. Surprised me. He's a good fighter. Determined. Good fighter. Strong. Surprised me. I got two swollen hands. What are you fighting against? Who do you want me to fight? You pick. Who do the press want me to fight? Who do you think you should fight? The best man. Who is the best man? Who do you think? I don't know. I believe it to you. Find him.
When 1966 came around, on March the 29th, there was a battle between Muhammad Ali and Canadian George Chuvalo. The fight took place on Chuvalo's home turf, and even the air was thick with tension from the upcoming clash. As the champion himself stated, facing an opponent of such caliber required exhausting oneself to be 110% sure of enduring the entire distance. That's exactly what he achieved during the training camp. History shows that Ali's third title defense went the full 15 rounds, after which he secured a convincing victory by unanimous decision. The fighters played a chess match, and in the end, the last word belonged to Muhammad. 23-0 with 3 successful defenses at 24 years old. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? Here's what the Canadian had to say years later after sharing the ring with a young and peak Muhammad.
It's funny, if the people think of me, it's usually think of me fighting Muhammad. You know, usually it's like the most often asked question of me when I meet people is, what was it like to fight Muhammad Ali? And I always say the same way, it wasn't a whole lot of fun.
On May the 21st, it was time for an equally anticipated rematch with Briton Henry Cooper. For those who might have forgotten, Muhammad fought this very man in June 1963, which was his last fight before the title shot. Henry was one of the few who not only gave a good challenge to Ali, but even knocked him down, quite a feat. In anticipation of the rematch, the champion's promotion was, as always, top-notch.
It brought about the biggest boom that the ailing sport of boxing had known for years.
Tell Henry Cooper to stay in shape because Ellis is ready.
Cassius Clay was front-page news. The writers had found a boxer who could string 3 syllables together. They even took his poetry and gave it a bigger circulation in a year than Byron got in a century.
Tell all my fans in England that as soon as things get straight, they might see me again.
So I had to go see him, and many thousands of people was there, mainly hoping he would be whooped, just to see if this man could really back up all this talk. So right away I start talking. I am the greatest. If he talks jive, he'll fall in fight. I'm the real king of the world. I'm too beautiful to be a fighter. This made many people angry because black people in America, as a rule, are humble. They don't talk like that. $150 for the seat. And I went to the bank laughing, you understand?
If there were any doubts about the outcome of the fight with Henry Cooper last time, this time there were none. Muhammad Ali approached the rematch with full responsibility and entered the ring in fantastic shape. He was too fast, elusive and sharp for the Briton, who got a huge cut on his left eye by the 6th round, leading to the fight stoppage.
So it's all over. The great disappointment for Henry Cooper.
Well, I wasn't really too worried, but I was just cautious and watching his hard left hook, and I'm down and I feel bad that the fight had to end the way it did with him bleeding so badly, and it's taken me a while to get over it because it was an awful sight.
Meanwhile, one of the boxing associations, the WBA, stripped our hero of his title after he joined the Nation of Islam. However, all other belts and accolades remained with him. On August the 6th, Muhammad appeared before the English audience and shared the ring with Brian London.
It's August 6, 1966. Muhammad Ali is defending his World Heavyweight Championship in London, England against European heavyweight title holder Brian London. 3 weeks before the fight, Ali is in serious training prior to leaving for England. Ali is not taking Brian London lightly and has already trimmed down to a sharp 211 pounds. Let's look at this great heavyweight champion train for a moment while the enthusiastic crowd watches in amazement.
We understand that every word Muhammad said before a fight should be taken with a grain of salt, right? We've often heard about this unmatched talent for adopting different personas to engage fans who would buy tickets and watch the events live.
But Ali turned professional. London became the British Empire.
Despite his serious demeanor before the fight, he left no chance for his opponent in the ring. But in the middle of the 3rd round, the champion cornered Brian and overwhelmed him with a flurry of punches, causing the European title holder to collapse and be unable to continue.
London in a tough spot in there with Clay peppering him and 9, 10, it's all over. It's all over.
The 25th consecutive victory and 5th title defense for the 24-year-old champion was successfully achieved.
I must first thank Almighty Allah for my strength and my power and the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, which has enabled me to walk through so much corruption and live clean. And the thing that really hit the man, I believe, was a hard left and a right. I threw about 7, 8 punches, and just about everyone connected, I think, but I really don't know which one. But I'm not taking nothing from him. He was determined, he was game, and for a round and a half, he was moving.
Just a month later, the well-known champion stepped into the ring with German Karl Mildenberger in the heart of Frankfurt.
Mildenberger, is the southpaw style really a problem?
Oh, that's not too tough. I think he shouldn't be a problem. Maybe for the first 4 rounds, when he has his stamina and his energy, and he may be pretty tough. But after I have 2 sparring partners here now, I'm getting used to the southpaw style, and I believe he might give me a little trouble for 3 or 4 rounds, but after that we shouldn't have no trouble.
To be fair, there's another side of Muhammad Ali that is rarely discussed when we talk about his legacy. Due to the boxer's approach to promoting fights, many of his words were seen by the public and media as mere trash talk with little basis in reality. However, that's the problem. By paying closer attention to his statements, one could easily notice that he often clearly explained why and how he would defeat a particular opponent. What many perceived as trash talk was actually truth backed by technical explanations. Yet, these seemingly offhand comments did not receive the proper attention at the time. However, once in the ring, Muhammad Ali backed up everything he said before the fight, as was the case this time. After many rounds, the champion exhausted the German contender and stopped him by a TKO in the 12th round after another barrage of devastating attacks.
blitz now. Straight right. Oh. Teddy Walton is stopping this bout.
On November the 14th, our hero returned to the United States to grace the Houston Astrodome in Texas and put his title on the line against Cleveland Williams.
Well, he's not too fast on his feet, but he's got fast hands. And a lot of the mistakes and things that I do and get away with the fellas that I have fought in the past, I couldn't do with him, because if he should hit me, he could hurt me because he's fast with his hands, and he's got a hard punch. He broke Sonny Liston's jaw once. He's destroyed just about 45 opponents out of 50. And if he should tag me, I could be in for trouble. So all I'm watching out for is his powerful punch. But as far as speed is concerned, I believe I have him there.
At that time, this bout attracted a record-setting number of 35,460 people. Many of you might know that Williams was once considered one of the hardest punchers in heavyweight history. His punches could shake even the spectators in the stands, and the opponents' faces turned into bloody messes after a few landed shots. But that was the case until 1964, when he was shot at point-blank range by a Texas police officer. This led to Cleveland losing a kidney and 10 feet of small intestine. Unfortunately, he managed to stay in professional sports and retained a bigger portion of his former power. However,
I didn't understand. You knew as that round ended that you could beat this man. Well, I knew that I was ahead, and I knew that if I didn't get tagged, I would beat him. I think I'll beat any man today alive if he don't really hurt me. But as far as boxing and dancing and outpointing a man is concerned, no heavyweight around can keep up with me.
our hero was not about to stop at what he had already achieved. Of course, to earn the title of the greatest, he still had a long way to go, but he steadily moved towards building up his legacy, taking confident steps towards fulfilling his plans. As 1967 approached, closer to February the 6th, the boxing world organized Muhammad Ali's 8th title defense. He was set to face an American, Ernie Terrell, who had not tasted defeat in the last 5 years of his active career and had defeated many of the champion's previous opponents along the way.
I am surrounded at the moment by two massive men. The gentleman to my left has just told me that he is the only man in the world that Muhammad Ali is afraid of. So the gentleman to my left has to be Ernie Terrell. To my right is the author of a great new poem. He is the heavyweight champion of the world. He pretends that he will have an easy time of it February 6th at the Houston Astrodome. And he begins today by reading that poem. Champ?
Did you want to hear the poem now, Howie?
Absolutely.
Well, hold Ernie, hold Ernie.
You frightened, Ernie?
I don't believe you can read.
Go on.
At the sound of the bell, Terrell will catch hell. Ernie Terrell thinks he's a championship fighter, but when he meets me, he'll fall 20 pounds lighter. He may come into the ring looking awful neat, but if he's not cool, they'll carry him out by his feet. He's going around calling himself the real heavyweight champ, but when the fights start, he'll look like a tramp. I'm not saying this just to be funny, but I'm fighting Ernie because he needs the money. I'm really going to help him make a little bread, but the catch is, I must whip your head. I don't want to be a drag, and I'm not here to brag, but it's your jaw I'm out to tag. I hear you want to stand toe-to-toe, and with me trade blow for blow. But if you hip, you'll take a dip, because I'm out to bust your lip. So when the fight fans come to the fight, be cool, don't run. I guarantee the fight will go over one. And after the fight, Terrell, you will know you was in a scuffle because you cannot master the double clutch shuffle.
As we mentioned, this event took place on February the 6th, 1967. At that time, Terrell was considered the strongest opponent of our hero had faced since Sonny Liston. He was big, strong, and had a 3-inch reach advantage. In the lead up to the fight, Ernie repeatedly called Ali Clay his original name, much to Muhammad's irritation. It's also known that the two nearly had a real fight during the filming of one of the local shows while promoting their match. Ali stated that he wanted to torture his opponent, not just beat him, but put him through a real torture. A simple knockout was too mild of a punishment for the disrespect shown. Let's put it this way, until the 7th round, the fight was close. However, the tension driving the champion only fueled him further, expanding his offensive arsenal with every minute spent in the ring. Terrell's face was covered in blood, his eyes swollen and starting to close by the 8th round. At the same time, Muhammad was just getting into his groove. He landed countless blows on his opponent and shouted between rounds, "What's my name, Uncle Tom? What's my name?" Ultimately, this beating went the full 15 rounds and ended with the champion's unanimous decision victory. Due to Ali's obvious intention to prolong the fight to thoroughly punish Ernie and teach him a lesson, the event was later dubbed a demonstration of boxing skill and a display of barbaric brutality.
And I like to say, as usual, always thank Almighty God, Allah, for making me successful as usual with Ernie Terrell, and to be able to come out of the ring with no scratches at all on my face. And I'd also like to thank the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for the religion of Islam that he teaches us in America, which has enabled me to fight so regular and live a clean life.
Now I'm saying, what's my name? Which my manager, Herbert Muhammad, criticized me and verbally gave me a good lashing. So I have to apologize here on the show because I was wrong for talking.
The further life of Muhammad Ali began to take an unexpected turn. We won't delve into all the details right away, but we'll mention this fact so that you keep it in mind. So let's not get ahead of ourselves and note that after the victory over Terrell, the champion had his 9th title defense. On March the 22nd, our hero faced a fighter named Zora Foley. Fans in the media space say this was Ali's last fight in his prime.
All I can say is that he's the #1 man in the whole world, and I can't do no more than to fight the top contenders. He's been around for a few years. He was such a good fighter and puncher. The great Floyd Patterson ducked him. Liston was the champion. He ducked him. Ingemar Johansson was the champion. He ducked him. And I think he's a much better fighter than Terrell. Terrell had 15 rounds and he couldn't touch my face. You built him up to be a good fighter, but you was greatly let down.
Are you making any predictions on this fight?
No, I just predict that this will be a tougher fight than the toughest fight since Liston, because I'm fighting a man that can punch with both hands. He's got a good defense, and he's a real good fighter.
Zora Foley indeed posed a significant threat, as evidenced by data from open sources about his active career during that period. He had been a top contender for over a decade and deservedly ranked among the top 10 boxers of his time. Ali's attitude was clear and evident almost immediately. Therefore, he prepared in the best possible way, so that by the 7th round, he would leave no trace of him. Yes, as you might guess, another technical knockout victory was successfully earned by our hero.
Champion has plenty himself, there's no question about that. Rolling down from that right hand. He gamely tried to get up.
He stopped his opponent early, once again reinforcing in the public's mind the idea that rightfully called himself the greatest performer in history. Incidentally, this was the first fight Muhammad Ali invited his father to, so he could witness his son's skill firsthand from the front row.
Foley bothered me for a while. He was smart, he was taking his time, but after a few rounds he started tiring, and I caught him with a right-hand lead.
How ironic that the first fight of the greatest boxer's father attended at the peak of his career happened to be the last one for a while. Now we move on to those very moments we mentioned a few minutes ago.
All I have here is statements that I have prepared. Statements that I have prepared, answering all of your questions on future fights. Come on, Eddie. The future period, anything you can think of.
The statement said that Clay would have been untrue to his religion if he'd accepted the draft.
Clay and his advisors were more anxious that they should be recognized as a proper church, whose ministers were on a level with other ministers.
There have been many questions put to me why I refuse to be inducted into the United States Army, especially as some have pointed out, many have pointed out, when not taking the step, I will lose so much. And I would like to say to those of the press and those of the people who think that I lost so much by not taking the step, I would like to say that I did not lose a thing up until this very moment. I haven't lost one thing. I have gained a lot. Number one,
this period in Muhammad Ali's life is very important for understanding who he is as a person, especially if you were not familiar with him before and did not follow his career, as well as for assembling the puzzle that will answer questions about his future career. For now, let's focus on the first part. A significant stage in our hero's journey was his refusal to serve in the military. This is exactly what Muhammad was talking about in his interview and statement, along with representatives of the media. It was thanks to this event that he became known to people far from the world of martial arts. As you already know, on March the 22nd, 1967, Ali defeated Zora Folley and had a 9th successful title defense in the heavyweight division. The joy of victory was darkened by the stripping of his championships due to his public refusal to undergo mandatory military service in the US Armed Forces. This happened in April.
I will say here boldly now on television, no, I will not go 10,000 miles from here to help murder and kill another poor people simply to continue the domination of white slave masters.
The champion did not want to participate in military actions in Vietnam, where the war was in full swing. Muhammad emphasized that it went against his faith. Representatives of the athletic commissions of all American states decided to strip the boxer of his professional license and passport. From the age of 25 almost until 29, at the peak of his athletic form, Ali was deprived of the opportunity to showcase his skills in the ring. In addition, during that time, our hero ended up in jail against his will, spending about 10 days there for driving a vehicle with a license of the wrong category. After being released, he stated that jail is a bad place, even a terrible place, because a person is simply locked up there without the possibility of leaving the cell. The food is terrible. There's nothing to do. The only solace is looking out the window at people and passing cars. Simple things like walking outside or sleeping enough become an unattainable luxury in such a place. Broadly speaking, the period from March 1967 to October 1970 is probably the most important in Ali's life. Muhammad became a symbol of Black America. Unlike the hype with religion, it was painful for him to witness the persecution of the black race. We have already mentioned this several times today. It was such a tough time. What can you do? But the most important thing here is that the boxer's impulse was sincere, loud. For the poor part of a flourishing America, he became a sort of herald. It's hard to deny the heavyweight champion, with his unique charisma and good vocabulary, had a natural gift for public speaking.
Quite an athlete across from me. He used to be named Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. and has been as a fighter became at the age of 45 now, he calls himself Muhammad Ali, and he's unemployed as a fighter. His title is gone, ripped away by various boxing commissions in the name of patriotism. He's been sentenced to 5 years in prison for refusing induction into the United States Army. 8 years ago, he stood on a podium alone. An American flag the Star-Spangled Banner being played, he was given a gold medal as an Olympic champion. People thought he was a kid with a bright future, and he was known as the so-called credit to his race. He had talent in the ring, and he had lived outside. know since Robert Frost, at least he had more of his poetry published, saying Archie Moore must go in for, things like that. But then the day after he became champion, he turned off a lot of the country by revealing that he was a convert to a religious sect known popularly as the Black Movement, formerly as the Nation of Islam, and that antagonized a lot of the American people. So now, principal an exciting, bizarre, celebrated career, and now perhaps a discouraging career.
Let's clarify the legendary boxer's position more specifically in case anyone thinks he decided to hide behind religion out of fear of military actions or for any other seemingly obvious reasons. Yes, in his speech, Muhammad said that the war goes against the teachings of the Quran, but he was not trying to dodge the draft. His take was that people should not participate in any wars unless they are declared by Allah or His Messenger. There's no need to be an aggressor, it's enough to be ready to defend if an attack is made on the homeland or loved ones. Ali had no grievances against the Viet Cong. He just didn't understand why he should wear a uniform and go 10,000 miles from home to drop bombs and bullets on brown-skinned people in Vietnam, when so-called blacks in Louisville were treated like dogs and denied basic human rights. Many years later, in another interview from 1974, he would say that if America itself were in trouble and a full-scale bloody war broke out, he would be on the front lines if they were attacked. However, he considered what was happening in Vietnam to be wrong. He saw with his own eyes how black men returned from there, having fought for their lives with blood and sweat, and upon returning home, they couldn't even be served a hamburger.
Well, I don't know. I'm not really worrying about boxing. The more I'm in the spiritual works that Elijah Muhammad preaches, preaching the word of Allah, God, I forget about sports. It's not in my blood. I don't eat rare steaks no more. They make you vicious. I just eat lamb now and fish, holy foods, and this keeps me from being vicious feeling, and I really don't miss it. I have nothing else to gain. I beat the best German they had to offer, the best that Canada had to offer, England, the best that America had to offer, two-time United States Golden Glove champion, AAU champion twice, Olympic gold medal winner, defended the title 9 times, predicted the rounds on my opponents, wrote poems in poetic fashion how they would fall, and I cannot go no farther in sports.
Muhammad Ali's example inspired many Americans and people of diverse nationalities around the globe. However, it's worth noting that initially, when the news of his refusal to serve spread across the country, he became probably the most hated person in the nation and received numerous threats of an obvious nature. The threats also targeted those who supported our hero, whether publicly or in private among close circles. Nonetheless, most of the public, especially representatives of the civil rights movement, concluded that Ali had a stimulating effect on the liberation mechanism as a whole. Being a successful world heavyweight champion who achieved the highest level of athletic fame, he put everything at stake: money, the possibility of gaining support, and much more, and sacrificed all of this for a cause that sincerely concerned him and kept him restless due to the injustice that prevailed in such a difficult time. He knew that he could be sent to prison and have his life completely ruined. His career was no longer even in question, and still he went ahead, bravely standing his ground. This is a different level of leadership and sacrifice. Throughout the above-mentioned period, the appeal process was ongoing. Muhammad's lawyers tirelessly worked to prevent the execution of the announced sentence and constantly appealed to delay what seemed inevitable. The boxer himself, who had already gained fame outside of his craft, gave speeches at colleges across the country criticizing the Vietnam War and defending African American pride and racial justice. At that time, he moved to live in Chicago. The media in turn relentlessly discussed Ali's act and position, fearing that his actions could potentially lead to mass civil disobedience. the 3-year hiatus without fights inevitably affected his physical condition. Ali lost the ability to demonstrate his fantastic movements in the ring. It is generally believed that during his suspension, Muhammad stepped away from sports and got involved in political processes. However, there is another version stating that the boxer stopped training not because of political motives. Ali spent time with beautiful white women and frequented expensive restaurants. He led a classic life of a socialite, occasionally making loud but empty statements for the media. The public was satisfied with this because people always need a leader. Muhammad, from a young age, had established himself as a master at playing on people's emotions.
White man 50 years ago told my granddaddy that when my daddy got free, things would be better. When he got grown. Now my daddy's grown. Somebody told my daddy that when I got grown, things would be better. Now I'm grown. Now I have the white boy today telling me that when my children get grown, things will be better. So they'll see that this is just the old trick.
Return.
The heavyweight champion of the world who never made a wrong prediction, Muhammad Ali. Well, Muhammad, really, in all seriousness, how does it feel to be with the star?
Well, you know, I would have known if I had taken that flight with the astronauts, you know.
Yeah.
They got pretty close to him. Oh, you mean you said?
Well, I'm talking about me, yes.
Well, you real good. I got to give it to you. You're one of the best in your business. I don't want that. I like you because you talk a lot.
Fortunately, our hero's suspension was not eternal, though many claim it took away the best years of his career. On August the 11th, 1970, it was announced that the Atlanta Athletic Commission had granted Muhammad a boxing license. Leroy Johnson, Jesse Hill Jr. and Harry Pett used their local political influence to found the House of Sports Company to organize the fight, emphasizing the influential power of black politics in Georgia, which facilitated Ali's return. Eventually, all this led to the fact that on October the 26th, the greatest returned to the ring. He shared it with Jerry Quarry.
Well, my feeling is I just have just a short time to get ready. And I have been off a little over 3 years, and 6 weeks notice is almost an impossible time to get in shape.
Hi everybody, I'm Brian Kenny, and welcome as ESPN Classic presents the 1970 heavyweight bout between the former title holder Muhammad Ali and Jerry Quarry. This was Ali's return to the ring after a 3.5-year exile. From 1964 to 1967, he was the heavyweight champion of the world, successfully defending his championship 9 times before being stripped of his title for refusing induction into the Army during the Vietnam War. After being rejected by several other states, Ali was finally granted a boxing license in Georgia. Jerry Quarry was a worthy opponent, having fought and lost 2 title fights against Jimmy Ellis and Joe Frazier.
Let's just say what fans around the world state is not entirely groundless. Ali spent the best years of his sports career immortalizing his name, because being just a boxer, he would never have reached the level of fame he achieved during his hiatus. The legendary performer knew how to analyze past experiences and play on human instincts, and we can admit that he deserved the success he achieved. However, we should not blindly believe that he came up with all this by himself. In fact, Ali borrowed the experience of Jack Johnson, the first black world heavyweight champion who, in the early 20th century, made all white America bow to a black fighter. But that's all lyrical. The fight of the returning veteran with Jerry Quarry turned out to be not so convincing. On the contrary, it showed that he should definitely not rush back into the title race. But a win is a win, there's no arguing with that.
Referee Tony Perez has signaled the fight is over.
But I like to say Quarry was, I don't know, I imagine I won easy, but it was rough. He was tricky, he hit hard, and if it wasn't for my speed, it wouldn't have ended like it did.
On December the 7th, our hero managed to have another boxing match to, so to speak, close this long absence with another triumph. His next opponent, the 31st in his professional career, we might add, was the Argentinian Oscar Bonavena.
He's in trouble if he don't talk. He never should have started talking, not with Muhammad Ali.
Oh, money? Clay. Clay?
I said Muhammad Ali.
Clay?
You will call it when the fight comes off.
Clay?
Wait till the fight comes off. Please tell everybody to get to your theaters. I've never had a man that I wanted to whoop so bad.
The rust that had developed over those 3+ years did not disappear by the second fight after the return. Compared to the former lightning-fast, collected and super speedy Ali, this was one sluggish, slow and far less dynamic than before. Although he was still young, 28 years old is still quite a youthful age, especially for a heavyweight, it was impossible to bring his body back to its former condition in such a short time. His fight was called a 15-round snooze fest by many people, clearly showing that the ex-champion was not ready for big challenges. But no matter what, in the final round, Muhammad managed to outlast and outpunch the Argentinian, who after 3 knockdowns lost by knockout according to the rules, and became another stepping stone for our hero on his way to regaining former greatness.
Ali is the knockout winner at 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
The layoff bothered me. I showed up, I missed a lot of punches, but I'm glad it went 15. The word was I didn't have no stamina. I think I showed more than he did. And Joe Frazier couldn't stop him. He was really out. And now we have a chance to see who the real champion of the world is. So I'm feeling good, and I'm glad that I had the work, and I'm glad to know that I have a punch, as they say I don't have. And I think he's never been stopped, right? Never been. Yippee.
No, he had never been knocked down until this fight.
During Muhammad's absence, Joe Frazier seized the leadership in the heavyweight category. Before his first fight with Ali, he was undefeated with a record of 26-0 and consistently defended all those championships that once belonged to our hero. After 2 consecutive victories, the greatest wished to return to the title race, although such a decision was clearly hasty given his condition. However, at that moment, it was the biggest event in the history of world boxing. It was met with unprecedented excitement, fueled by the fact that a fight between 2 undefeated fighters, each of whom had legitimate grounds to be called a champion, and the number 1 in the food chain, was about to take place. Even the veteran of American boxing, John Condon, called it the greatest event he had ever worked on in his life. The fight took place on March the 8th, 1971. All this was broadcasted to 36 countries, and the promoters allocated 760 passes for media representatives.
I want to make one prediction. I'm not calling around. I predict that when I meet Joe Frazier, this will be like a good amateur fighting a real professional. This will be like a kid out of the Olympics meeting the fastest heavyweight champion that ever lived. This will be no contest. This fight will be much easier. He will be easier to hit. He will not be as much trouble or as awkward as Oscar Bonavena. Joe Frazier, this will go down. I predict that the fans will be angry. They'll be mad at the critics. They'll be mad at the experts for misleading them so much. This man will be completely outboxed.
You got time. You got time.
This will be no contest. That's all I want to say.
All right, what do you say, Joe? What do you say to that?
I'd say he's nothing but a bunch of noise, that's all. He's going way back in the time of, let's say, 20 years ago, you know what I mean? This is the day, man, you understand?
I just whooped
You're not fighting Quarry, you're not fighting Oscar Bonavena, you're not fighting Sonny Liston, you fighting Joe Frazier.
Everybody knows that's not the point.
That's the point.
The atmosphere and setting in the lead up to the upcoming event became more grandiose with each passing day. Especially, they were spiced up by theatrical performances from both sides and genuine name-calling. Frazier used what always worked with Ali, calling him by his old name, Cassius Clay, while Muhammad in turn said that Joe was the dumbest tool of the white establishment. Particularly famous were phrases like, "Frazier is too dumb to be champion," "Frazier is too ugly to be champion," and stuff like that. He also called Joe Uncle Tom. He stated that the only people who supported Frazier were white people in suits, Alabama sheriffs, and members of the Ku Klux Klan. An interesting fact, before this fight, Ali began training on a farm near Pennsylvania. He found that he liked the rural area and did everything to create a real training camp there. he found a 5-acre plot on a country road in the village of Deer Lake, and there he set up what later became his training base until the end of his career.
You wait till I get Joe Frazier. I'm gonna whoop Joe Frazier. I'm gonna show him who the real world champion is. We're gonna sell it. We just signed the contract and it's all over. You get your ticket, you come to see it, because I'm gonna give him a good whooping. I'm gonna show Right on, brother. I'm gonna whoop all of you, you hear me? That fella driving that bus right there. You, Joe Frazier, I'm gonna knock all of y'all. You fella, you hear me? You, that fella right there. You.
The fight, which took place on a Monday evening, lived up to all expectations. It was rightfully called the Fight of the Century because it was the first ever clash of undefeated fighters in boxing history.
Muhammad Ali, no good. It's a real pure six-belt.
Reigning champion Joe Frazier stepped into the ring against former champion Muhammad Ali in the biggest event of historic scale.
These are big rounds for the ex-champ.
It was a long and bright night that forever entered the eternal history of world sports. But as we already mentioned, Ali was not ready for such opposition after a short run since regaining his license.
That's still a good jab.
Up to the 15th round, our hero was losing on points to Frazier, but tried not to fall behind and bet on his endurance. He took countless hits from old Joe, which many could not believe.
That one hurt.
In the sense that it was absolutely unclear how this person continued to stand on his feet and still fight back. However, any jaw will break down if hit a certain number of times. Joe caught Muhammad with the hardest left hook he could muster, which knocked Ali down. Of course, he managed to get up and fought until the final bell. But this performance became the first in which our hero suffered a defeat by unanimous decision of the judges.
How does it feel to have, for the first time in your professional career, have lost?
I feel you have obligation to many thousands of fans who are pulling for you, who are crying, and they're worrying about you and how you feel. And I think if they can see that you realize that I'm human, and I realize that we all have to lose and life's still going on, then they'll feel strong. I think a celebrity or any so-called great person have obligation to fulfill, to take defeat like a man so they can take their defeats when they have them, because we all will have various defeats in life, whether it be loss of loved ones or wealth or titles, and many people just can't stand these pressures and they crack up on them. And when a man can come through this after so many years of victory and been so supreme in his field and able to handle the defeat also victorious, then this make him a bigger man.
Muhammad Ali, as a true predator, warrior and conqueror in life, could not leave things as they were. The first defeat, and to Joe Frazier no less, deeply hurt him internally. It kept him awake at night. It motivated him to do additional sprints, runs, sparring rounds, in general, the entire training process. It ignited a new fire in him that burned brightly in the very heart of the boxer and drove him in the following years of an active career. Already in July, our hero got a chance to win the vacant NABF heavyweight title, and his opponent was Jimmy Ellis. A notable fact, Ellis was once Ali's sparring partner and a childhood friend from Louisville. And the fight became possible thanks to the promoter Bob Arum. In the past, Ellis was also the WBA champion for a while and was in general quite a worthy opponent. He managed to last almost all 12 rounds with Muhammad, but could not make it to the bell and the judge's decision. Ali literally at the last minute found a way to stop him, although let's be honest, after such time, it is not the approach and game plan, but the mere remaining strength that plays a role, and stopped him with a TKO. Thus, he put the NABF heavyweight title around his waist.
First, I must say right here, I'm a religious man, and I thank Almighty God, Allah, for my success. I thank Almighty God, Allah. Fat Albert's son, he's sitting out there watching.
Dick Gregory is saying hello to you all.
My friend Dick Gregory here, mainly Bill Cosby, gave me a call today and told me good luck. So I thank you. I'm glad to see you here too, Joey.
On November the 17th, Muhammad Ali had the opportunity to defend his newly acquired belt in a fight with Buster Mathis.
Your record, my record speak for itself. We are two of the top pros in the world. So that's all it is. Two big heavy men fighting. Both of them are fast. You can't go nowhere and see a prettier picture. You don't have to talk and build it up. Just get in shape and be there. The people will be there. I don't know why, but it's just something about when the name Muhammad Ali's up. The place just fills up.
Mathis indeed followed our hero's advice and got into such good shape that it allowed him not only to last all the 12 offered rounds, but also to impose his will in some episodes. But let's not deceive ourselves and say that he was ever close to having a chance to beat Muhammad Ali.
Now he's in desperate trouble.
The title defense of the local belt was successful, and the victory was awarded to our hero by a unanimous decision.
In Zurich, Switzerland with Jürgen Blin. I want everybody to know it's just time for another fight next month. We're after Joe Frazier, and he's running, he's ducking, and he's talking about he won't fight for a few years. And I hope the public bring him on out with that title and defend it like I did. I'm still resurrecting the game, although they say I'm not the champion.
It turned out that the words spoken by Muhammad Ali right in the ring after the fight with Buster were not fiction. He had indeed signed a contract for a fight with the German boxer and, moreover, fought him on December the 26th. That's how confident he was. Even without stepping into the ring with one opponent, he was already subconsciously preparing to fight again in about a month. Let's put it this way. Compared to our hero, Jürgen Blin looked more like a stepping stone on the way to future achievements. He didn't bring anything extraordinary with his style. Yes, in the past, the German had been the national champion in his country and held the European title. However, to face Muhammad Ali, he needed much more. This became evident when the athlete stepped into the ring. Ali easily outpaced and outboxed his opponent, leading to an unequivocal victory by knockout in the 7th round.
This crowd, these people know I'm the king of boxing. They know I'm the best. And I want everybody out there in London to tune in because I'll be there live in living color soon.
Celebrating his 30th birthday, Ali stepped into the new year of 1972 and returned to training with the aim of facing and defeating a boxer like Mac Foster.
I want to ask you one question, not trying to be funny, not just because the press is here, but seriously, look me in my eye. Do you really believe you can whoop me? And I'm seriously, Mac, do you really believe you can whoop me?
No, I know I can whip you.
He said no.
Despite his previous unwavering belief in his invincibility, although everyone understood that Muhammad wasn't facing top-tier opponents, Ali couldn't finish Mac Foster within the given 45 minutes. The American's head was tough enough to withstand our hero's best combinations and survive until the final bell. Nonetheless, in terms of effectiveness, the greatest looked much better and won by unanimous decision from the judges.
Just before we close this interview, give us some idea of what you think is happening with Joe Frazier. When do you think you might fight him again?
Well, number one, he's too ugly to be the world heavyweight champion. Joe Frazier is so ugly, his face should be donated to the Bureau of Wildlife. That man, let me tell you, he can't write no poems, he can't predict no rounds, and let me tell you, I'm not conceited, I'm just convinced. Harry, listen, I'm so modest, I can admit my own fault. And my only fault is I don't realize how great I really am.
By May, it was time for Muhammad Ali's rematch with George Chuvalo. These two had fought back in 1966 during our hero's 3rd title defense. If you remember, and back then, the victory went to the champion by unanimous decision. Now, the NABF title, which Muhammad held, was on the line. This fight between these two was just as good as the previous one. Both fighters had honed their craft even more over the past 6 years and added new tricks to their arsenal, which had their moments throughout the 12 rounds. But no matter how good of a boxer Chuvalo was, he still didn't reach Ali's level. With all due respect, the victory in the rematch went to our hero by unanimous decision with a significant advantage. If any of you think that Muhammad has significantly declined since his suspension, you're only half right, because try stepping into the ring with an elite athlete and just surviving 15 rounds of 3 minutes each. Even if Ali didn't return to his former condition, it was still enough to maintain such a high pace and fight for so long that the spectators in the stands got tired of watching. And here, not only do you need to last all those minutes, but also outbox fighters who have already had the opportunity to fight you and know your strengths. As they say, draw your own conclusions.
We got to get Joe Frazier. It's time for Joe Frazier. I'm fighting all the contenders every month. It's time for him to come on out of hiding and prove he's the real champ.
No matter how hard Muhammad tried to call out Frazier, the rematch wasn't happening. But there were other fighters ready to face our hero in the ring again. Among them was Jerry Quarry, the same boxer who met Ali after his return. Their second fight took place on June the 27th. We don't delve too deeply into the technical aspects of Muhammad Ali's fights simply because it's unnecessary. After all, 2 years had passed since his license was reinstated, during which our hero actively trained and competed, allowing him to catch up on most of what he had missed. As a result, although his performances weren't perfect, they were close enough to it and ended in a spectacular manner, as you can see on your screens. In the rematch, Jerry Quarry lasted only 19 seconds into the 7th round before suffering a TKO loss.
It was Quarry's last gallant effort. Referee must stop it. Yes, it's all over.
Once or twice you've spoken, it seemed to me sometimes sadly, about retirement. Do you still think of retirement?
Oh, I wanted to, but I thought about my children. I watched the baby cry another day, and my wife was late giving the baby milk, and the baby raised hell. Ah! Just hollering. Don't know where they're going to get it, but they just expect you to have it. And I looked at about 6 more coming, and I said, 10 years from now, I won't be fighting. 10 years from now, that baby will just be 10 years old. And I'll need money. He'll need school books. He'll need clothes, bus fare. And then 20 years from now, my daughter will need a house, or she'll need a job. And it'll be shame to say, Muhammad Ali's daughter, a waitress in a restaurant. He made all of those millions. Oh, there's his son over there, in here. What I'm trying to say, I can earn enough money in 5 years if I invest it and put it up right to take care of my grandchildren. So I wanted to retire, but after I see these children coming, and after I see that they're going to have a hard time, maybe they won't be blessed to make it like myself, I can knock out Blue Lewis, I can go knock out Floyd Patterson, I can knock out Joe Frazier, I can come back and knock out and if you get your Irish champion, come knock him out, then I can go back over here and knock some. Didn't get too much of a laugh on that, did I?
You're in Ireland.
Our hero needed less than a month to prepare for his next opponent. On July 19th at Ireland's Croke Park, Muhammad Ali shared the ring with Alvin Lewis. Ali's desire to prove to everyone that he was still a legitimate athlete, not to be underestimated even on his worst day, fueled him so much that his behavior resembled obsession rather than simple human and professional desire to perform. What you heard in his few remarks about Frazier is just the tip of the iceberg. It's only 1% of everything that was inside Muhammad, keeping him up at night, maintaining his discipline, and making him get up every morning for intense training.
Hurt me because it really is ridiculous just to stand there and take them. What a right hand. That was the punch, I think, that Ali was looking for.
Ali saw nothing but his ultimate goal of reclaiming the championship, and all the opponents standing in his way were just minor obstacles. If you like, call it a formality that needs symbolic time because it's necessary. Alvin Lewis was no exception. Yes, he put up a decent fight against our hero, but ultimately couldn't withstand Muhammad Ali's pressure and fell in the 11th round.
And it looks as though Eskin feels that that's enough. He's not going to allow Muhammad Ali.
You recognize me, man? Who am I?
Muhammad Ali.
All right, what's happening? Give me a shake. Give me 5. We'll give you 30, but your face is too dirty. Are you shocked?
No.
Why are you not shocked? You're not surprised?
You scared me when you came out.
I scared you. I heard you said you want to arm wrestle.
Yeah.
Let's get on. Whoa. I'm leaving. That's enough. That's enough. Bye. Bye.
It was Floyd Patterson's turn. Let's remind you that this boxer had already shared the ring with Ali in November 1965, when Muhammad was preparing for his second heavyweight title defense. Their first fight went to the 12th round, where our hero did everything to have his hand raised at the end of the evening. Now, 7 years later, fate brought them together again. If there were still a few who doubted the legendary veteran's abilities, they switched back to his side after this rematch. This time, the NABF champion managed to deal with his opponent faster, taking a total 7 rounds out of 12. Patterson, as before, couldn't find the right combinations to solve the puzzle that was Ali and accepted his second defeat with honor.
He's punished. No, they're stopping the fight. Patterson doesn't want it stopped.
I want to say right here, right now, I think the fight, on my side, it shouldn't have been stopped, but I want to say Floyd Patterson gave me a good fight. He was doing good. The fight was close, and he will get a rematch. I just want you all to know he will get a rematch.
We'll say right away that unfortunately, Floyd didn't get a rematch. There could be many reasons for this, and we won't delve into rumors and theories here, but just move on and leave the initial statement as a fact for reference. On November 21st, Muhammad Ali had his 6th bout of the year. His next opponent was Bob Foster.
In one-horse towns, I'm in the big city.
In the big city. I don't like the big city.
I don't blame you.
I like these one-horse towns.
It's better. They recognize you better there.
Well, that's all right.
They don't recognize you up here. Are you seriously thinking you can whip me?
Beg your pardon, I didn't hear you there, bro.
Are you seriously thinking you can beat me?
Well, I'm going to be trying.
Well, that's good enough. Because I was just wondering, you know, after watching all of my fights lately.
Yeah.
I watched you. You're pretty good.
Trying, you know that.
I know you're getting a little sour out of it, but do you really believe you can whip me?
Well, like I say, we're going to be trying.
This fight is notable because Bob Foster, the 41st opponent in our hero's professional career, managed to cut him during the fight. However, don't worry, as this didn't affect Muhammad or his mindset in any way. It might sound strange, but the cut over Ali's left eye only gave him more strength. It excited the legend, it made him angrier. It reached the necessary depths of his fighting spirit responsible for audacity, tenacity, and activity. Bleeding, the greatest only pursued his opponent more fiercely. He taunted him, pretended to wobble, and mocked him. And so, of course, coupled with elite boxing and full adherence to his trainer's instructions, he wore Foster down completely. This led to a knockout early in the 8th round.
That he's never suffered before in his life. Now, Foster is really wary. He went down from a quick right and the call it quits. It's over. It's over. It's a knockdown.
The first prediction was 8, which is what I got him in, but I should have stuck to it. I underestimated his greatness. I predicted 5, but he did go in 8 as I originally predicted, but I should have kept 8.
February 1973 arrived. The 31-year-old Muhammad Ali was on a 9-fight winning streak. He already had 5 successful NABF title defenses. 2 years had passed since his loss to Joe Frazier. Our hero managed to regain his credibility and return to his previous position. At least, that's what sports news analysts claimed at the time. Ali himself never gave anyone reason to doubt him and his abilities, so he continued to fight as if nothing ever happened. On February 14th, he stepped into the ring to exchange a few hundred punches with the Hungarian fighter named Joe Bugner.
If he don't bring me a Valentine, I'll get him in round 9. No, I'm predicting round 7. That's my prediction already. Round 7, not round 6, not round 8, but round 7. Get me on the spot right now, because this is what I told you for Bobby Foster. I said round 8, 2 months in advance, and he went in 8, which proves I'm great. Round 7, he might go to heaven.
His previous prediction didn't come true, as he claimed before the fight with Foster, Ali decided to do better, and before the bout with Joe Bugner, wrote a whole stand-up program of predictions and poems. He approached this task as responsibly as his training camp preparations and entertained the local audience and the press. If anything, you can't take away his charm. When this legendary man sat down at the table and moved the microphone closer, everyone fell silent in anticipation of his speeches. But let's not get distracted. Unfortunately, no verbal rhymes helped our hero to bring everything he said about the Hungarian boxer to life.
Bugner pinioned in the corner. Oh, Bugner got in a good right on all.
Bugner's excellent distance work allowed him to extend the fight to the final rounds. Of course, this doesn't mean he caused Muhammad any difficulties. He just didn't let himself be outworked with visible damage and pressure typical of Ali's style. The fight went to the judges, who unanimously picked our hero as the winner.
And the British, they tried to play it up, right, Angelo? This wasn't no match. This fella was, I had to train hard. Yeah, I see I was right in having my weight down. If I was slow tonight, win 225, 26 like I usually do, it's a possibility he would have outmaneuvered me. So I was ready for this one. I might have trained a little too hard, but I got by pretty good.
10 consecutive victories were not enough for Muhammad Ali to claim the undisputed heavyweight championship. The Boxing Association was in no hurry to match him with the #1 contender and instead suggested he defend his local title against American boxer Ken Norton. As it turned out, this decision was not in vain. Let's explain right away why this fight was significant. No matter what anyone said, our hero couldn't truly return to his former position. He did everything in his power to get his form as close as possible to what it was before he lost his license. But it was still not enough, no matter how you look at it. His performances were clear evidence of this. It seemed like the same style, the same approach, the same taunts and jests, but something was still missing. That's why he was matched with Ken Norton, who wasn't a star at the time, in the hope that if Ali showed a decent performance against him, he would be matched with the world champion. The press eagerly believed that Muhammad could handle the veteran who had passed his peak. However, they overlooked one simple fact. Fighting Muhammad Ali at that time was seen as a lifeline for a boxer who wasn't particularly charismatic on the microphone and didn't attract much attention.
Too skinny.
4.5. This is the kind of athlete Ken was. He performed well with varying success but didn't generate millions with his fights. So, when he learned that his opponent would be such a persona, he put in maximum effort in preparation because it determined whether he could put food on the table for his family or not. And Norton did 200% of the task. He came in his best form on the set date and managed to find a path to Ali's jaw, which he broke during the fight. This fact could not but affect the course of the fight, and by the end, the judges leaned not in favor of our hero. Thus, Muhammad Ali suffered the second defeat of his professional career. Despite this, just a few months later, he was sparring as if nothing had happened and declared his readiness to jump into a rematch with this guy to return the favor. The opportunity to reclaim the NABF title presented itself on September the 10th.
Well, the atmosphere calls for it, Howard. As I heard you say on one sports show, that if I lose, I'm finished. You know, it shows you how people consider my talent. Floyd Patterson's lost 90 times, he's not finished. Jerry Quarry's lost 90 times, he's not finished, and all of them lose. Frazier was slaughtered, he's not finished, but I'll be finished if I lose. So the atmosphere is serious and the climate is serious, and I just have to meet it head on.
Just to clarify, Ali's loss in the last fight was a split decision. It so happened that all his encounters with Ken Norton turned out to be very close, and the subsequent rematch was no exception. It also came to the point where the judges' opinions were split, but this time most of them chose Ali as the winner. Fortunately, our hero managed to get back on the winning path and reclaim that very title we've mentioned repeatedly.
In a way, yes, and in a way, no. They say when I was in my prime, I would have wiped out the likes of Ken Norton. I think they're wrong. Ken Norton is a great fighter, surprising fighter and strong, and I think he'll whoop George Foreman.
Don't be surprised that Ali didn't show his usual enthusiasm after the victory. As it became known a little later, he injured his hand and several other areas during the rematch that required medical attention. Be more surprised that just 40 days later, he stepped into the ring for the next fight. His opponent was the Dutchman Rudy Lubbers. This fight also turned out to be remarkably entertaining no matter how you look at it. However, this did not change the trend that had recently become associated with Muhammad. We mean that the fight went the full distance and once again went to the hands of the judges. Although the public was not particularly pleased with such an outcome, the fact remained. After returning to the path of victories, Ali reinforced this with another hand raise in the center of the ring and finally achieved the coveted chance he had been striving for over 2 years.
As they await the decision, and of course the decision was overwhelmingly in favor of Muhammad Ali.
Let's be friends for 1 minute just to get here. No. Come on. No. This is my good. Let's show him. Oh, what? Let's show him. No. What time is it? It's, let me tell you something. Oh, no. Let me tell you something. I will. Wait, can I say something? Let me tell you something. I want to tell you one thing. All of the brothers out there watching television, I don't care how mad y'all to each other, when it's come to one of these fellas trying to divide us, we must unite. Oh, God. Wait a minute. Wait.
No, Muhammad Ali did not get the title shot, but he was given a more intriguing and tempting option, personally for him, to settle an old score with Joe Frazier in the biggest rematch of recent years. By January 28, 1974, Frazier had already lost his belt after a knockout defeat to George Foreman in the second round. However, before the second fight with Ali, he managed to defeat Joe Bugner and get back on the winning path to make his clash more appealing. Muhammad was incredibly happy with such a chance and accepted it without hesitation. All the skepticism from the media and the public only fueled his competitive spirit, which grew stronger with each passing day.
Now, people expect me to do good when I was young. Olympics, Golden Gloves, Sonny Liston, Floyd Patterson. Now I'm considered getting kind of old. Been fighting now. It's been 10 years since Sonny Liston, and it's been 20 years since I started boxing, 20 long years. So now you should, naturally, a human should start withering away. As timing should get off, he should get slow. But when you see me get into that ring with Joe Frazier at 210 pounds, which is 2 pounds lighter than it was 10 years ago, when you see me with my feet dancing faster and better than I did with Ken Norton, which was 90% of the time for 12 rounds, and when you see the punches, I'm gonna be so fast, he's gonna think he's surrounded. Am I ever gonna get this?
Without...
You've got to have self-confidence. You've got to build up yourself.
You have to have that too, and this is what Joe Frazier had, a lot of self-confidence. My skill outdid his will the second time, but Joe Frazier takes a lot of punches and he just keeps coming until a man just gets disheartened and he gives up.
The true ascension and rise of Muhammad Ali to his second round of greatness began with the victory over Joe Frazier in the fundamental rematch. After this, no one delayed giving him a title shot. By that time, a new, terrifying, mysterious and intimidating figure, George Foreman, had taken over the heavyweight crown. A boxer with sledgehammers in his gloves, rightfully one of the hardest hitters in boxing history, who was undefeated at 40-0 and the undisputed champion of the division. Frazier's defeat in the rematch perfectly set the stage for a title fight between Ali and Foreman. Many of you surely know the title of this showdown, The Rumble in the Jungle. Don King organized the super fight, negotiating with the Zaire dictator Motobu to hold the first ever boxing title bout on the African continent. Let's say right away that in the preliminary assessment of this fight, analysts noted that both Joe Frazier and Ken Norton, who gave Muhammad tough challenges, were both defeated via knockout by George in the early rounds. Our hero was already 32 years old, and in recent times he had lost a lot of speed, reflexes, and overall physical condition, while Foreman only got stronger and better. At least that's how the argument sounded from those interested in boxing at that time. In short, no one particularly gave Ali a chance to win, and to be fair, such thoughts couldn't be dismissed because Foreman indeed instilled fear in the boxing world during those years. However, this didn't faze Muhammad.
George Foreman knocked out Ken Norton, knocked out Joe Frazier. True, I didn't knock him out, but I'm so fast, I'm so hard hit, I'm so scientific. I'm a total different man from Frazier and Norton. Listen, David, when I meet this man, if you think the world was surprised when Nixon resigned, wait till I whip Foreman's behind. Who knocks out everybody and no one can whoop him. That's when that little Cassius Clay from Louisville, Kentucky came up and stopped Sonny Liston, the man who annihilated Floyd Patterson twice. He was gonna kill me. But he hit harder than George. His reach was longer than George. He's a better boxer than George. And I'm better now than I was when you saw that 22-year-old undeveloped kid running from Sonny Liston. I'm experienced now, professional. Jaw's been broke, been lost, knocked down a couple of times. I'm bad. Been chopping trees. I done something new for this fight. I done wrestled with an alligator. That's right. I have wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail.
Be at the theater early because this man I'm gonna retire him. If you think I whoop Sonny Liston, you wait till I get George Foreman. He talks too much, he's ugly, he's pretending I'm the true champion, and they make me the underdog. I'm gonna show them all they're wrong because I'm the champion. I'm the real champion. There'll never be one like me. And all of you people in Britain who rank me as the greatest, I'm gonna prove I'm the greatest. I'm gonna prove to you I'm the greatest. We're gonna prove to the world I'm the greatest. This is my last fight. I don't want none of you to miss it. So please come to the theaters. I'm going to eat some raw meat and I'm going to train. I'm going to get ready and chop some more trees.
After all, a terrifying force, a motivated and more energized than ever Muhammad Ali, in whom hardly anyone believed and whose chances of winning everyone openly doubted. No enemy would wish for such an opponent simply because even before the actual fight, he could get so deep into your head and work you over with his verbal flattery that even with all your aura and confidence, you wouldn't be able to counter him. George Foreman was a great fighter, truly and without a hint of irony. His future career is clear evidence of this. After meeting Ali, he never lost in a decisive manner again. Instead, he knocked out dozens of people left and right. He was an exceptional boxer who fought until 1997 and remained one of the sport's most dangerous representatives until the end. However, in the fight with Muhammad Ali, he failed to display his ferocity and knockout power.
Staggered! Foreman staggered! Definitely! Good twist, left the combination by Ali. Lands in the head of Foreman.
On the contrary, in this contest, all the spotlight was on our hero, who managed to finish Foreman in the 8th round and reclaim the title of undisputed heavyweight champion.
This time he worked over the shoulder of Foreman.
But it actually puts fear in your opponent, like George Foreman. Just before the fight, I'm looking at him and the man's giving his instructions. I said, sucker, you are in trouble tonight. You are fighting the greatest fight of all times. You heard I was the greatest, like you just said you heard this, now you see it. I said, you said I was the greatest, but you're gonna see. I'm fast, sucker. I'm gonna burn you up. You were fighting your idol. When you were a little kid, you were hearing about me, you know. I said, come on, show me something. I talked through the whole fight. I don't know if you all know it. I talked through the whole fight. I said, come on, sucker. I said, show me something. They told me you could hit hard. You're just a sissy. Come on, sucker. Show me something. Come on, you can do better than that, George. You want to corner me? Here I am. You're waiting to corner me? And he just, and every once in a while I just go, See, the quickest way to a point is a straight line. To hit me, he had to do that. And while he's doing that, I said, I'm tagging him with jabs, right? Pop, pop. The fighter, you know.
After Muhammad Ali returned to his element to the position of the #1 in the food chain and undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, this gave a new momentum to his career and a vast legacy whose value is hard to comprehend even today. We won't hide that at that moment he indeed had thoughts about retiring if he defeated George Foreman. However, feeling strong enough and seeing the public quickly shift back to his side after the historic upset in the title fight, our hero went all out. Of course, if he had known what this decision would cost him, but let's not get ahead of ourselves for now. Muhammad Ali reclaimed the championship status. He regained the recognition of the entire industry. He regained the love of the fans and the respect of his rivals. He once again placed himself at the pinnacle of the sport and did what no other boxer of his era, and perhaps of any era in the history of boxing, could have done. The fight with George Foreman was his second and last in 1974. The greatest took a few months to heal the injuries accumulated over time, recovered, and declared his readiness to continue his reign in the heavyweight division. As they say, a man said it, a man did it.
I do a lot of joking and clowning and poem writing and this and that. This is for reasons to promote boxing. And I was told that it's a big honor to be invited to speak at a place like Harvard.
Muhammad Ali's new reign began in March. He discovered an additional reserve within himself that helped him continue performing at the highest level possible. Over the next 2.5 years, our hero fought as often as possible, effortlessly defeating all his opponents and racking up his championship defenses. Muhammad never spared himself in any of the fights he had. Sometimes he won with a clear advantage, and sometimes he faced difficulties during the bout. One way or another, his charisma and unwavering belief in himself were always enough for his hand to be raised at the end of each fight. Along with this, it should be noted that during the period of Muhammad Ali's dominance in the boxing world, we witnessed the most legendary and historic confrontations. Not least among these was the grand finale of the trilogy with Joe Frazier, known as the Thriller in Manila.
Whooped the god of the boxing idol, George Foreman. He destroyed Ken Norton. He destroyed Joe Frazier, and I destroyed him. And then people, for some reason, still don't believe. They still think that this sucker is going to slip up and defeat Muhammad Ali. Well, he don't stand a chance. And I mean, tell you to get to your close circuitous, tell everybody that I'm still in training. I haven't took a days off training since Joe Bugner. I'm dedicated to fight the world. I tried to retire. I told the world I want to retire. He come all the way to Manila talking about he wants me. All right, he's got me. And all his men's got me. And I promise you, he will be put in another hospital. I have 2 punches. One called the balloon punch and one called the needle. This left jab is the balloon. It swells your head up. And this is going to pop it.
Yep, it will be a thriller and a chill and a killer when we get to Gorilla in Manila.
The third fight between Ali and Frazier resembled more of a slaughter than a boxing match between two professional athletes. These two harbored such animosity towards each other at that moment, and at the same time such respect from recognizing the danger their opponent posed, that they went to great lengths to hurt each other as much as possible in the lead up to the clash. This was no ordinary fight promotion. These two men hated each other with all their hearts and wanted to inflict as much damage as possible on the man in gloves standing opposite. And they did just that.
Hey, it's Joe Frazier! Joe Frazier! Joe Frazier! Joe Frazier!
The fight lasted 14 of the scheduled 15 rounds. During this time, both boxers went through a living hell. Joe's right eye was swollen shut with a hematoma filled with blood, rendering him unable to see punches coming from that side. Ali looked slightly better, but any punch from Frazier could easily sever the last thread connecting his head to his central nervous system. After the penultimate round, Muhammad returned to his corner on unsteady legs. He screamed at Angelo Dundee to take off his gloves because he had given more than he had. In Joe's corner, a different situation was unfolding. His team told him he could no longer continue. Too much strength had been expended, too much hatred shown, too much drama, and ultimately, Frazier's corner did not let him out for the 15th round. This bout became an example of the inhuman will and resilience of two people who fought until the end.
I'm gonna take a rest now. That's my 4th fight in 1 year. But there's a great possibility, fellas, this might be my last fight tonight. A great possibility you probably saw the last of Ali. I'm considering retiring to let Norton, Foreman, Frazier, whoever fight for the title. I want to get out of it.
The legendary Thriller in Manila, broadcasted worldwide, took place on October the 1st, 1975, marking Ali's 4th defense since regaining the championship. But as time would show, it would not be his last. Subsequently, our hero would hold the belt until February 1978 and make 6 more successful defenses, reaching a record of 55-2. Although it may sound like a formality due to our brief recounting, it is not. Just think about it. In total, Ali had, excluding the NABF title, 19 defenses of the undisputed heavyweight championship. Victories over the best athletes of his time, triumphs over true killers who would be the most dangerous predators the world has ever seen if they had been born a few decades later. We will not tire of repeating that Muhammad Ali is still an unattainable figure, a colossus who, even after passing his peak, after suspensions and various scandals, including racial and many others, continued to demolish everyone in the ring and remain not just afloat, but at the forefront of the industry for many, many years. However, to our deepest regret, his decision to continue fighting was too reckless. And now we will tell you why.
It's all over. Muhammad Ali has beaten Richard Dunn here in round 5 in Munich, Germany.
The sad end.
Who are you most grateful to for your career?
My career, everything. Allah. All my success, all my protection, all my fearlessness, all my victory, all my courage, everything comes from Allah.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, heading out to the mound to join them, accompanied by his 13-year-old son, Assad. Please welcome the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad, watch this. Watch Muhammad. Watch.
Watch me, Ali. Champ. Watch me, champ. I'm fat. Watch the feet, champ. Champ, my feet. Watch the feet, champ. I'm bad, champ. I'm bad.
We showed you this footage for a reason. To maintain the narrative tone, we will leave a few comments on how the career of the greatest boxer of all time concluded. After defeating Ernie Shavers in September 1977, Muhammad Ali lost the championship in a fight against Leon Spinks. Ali then returned and avenged the loss before taking a 2-year break. In October 1980 and December 1981, he suffered 2 defeats by decision to Larry Holmes and Trevor Berbick. Ali's last fights went to decision since 1976, so you can imagine how much damage he took to his head and body during this time. His entire career, as you have seen today, was filled with incredible confrontations that couldn't help but impact our hero's condition, well-being, and health. Here are some frames from 1989.
This man's great. And I don't know what would happen if he hit me.
You know, I don't believe that because the champ is very modest, you know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
I seen him in the ring with killers. I seen him in there with killers, like Foreman, Shavers, guys that hit much harder than I. And, you know, he takes these guys' greatest punches, and that's what made him such a champion. I mean, even though I heard him say he didn't believe, he must have believed, because that's why, from watching Ali, gave me the great deal of confidence and deep down in the belief, to believe there's no man in this planet could beat me.
The man is great.
You think he could hit harder than Ernie Shavers?
What do I think? Are you colored?
Yes, Muhammad Ali increasingly stopped showing his signature boxing style from the mid-70s. After his career ended, the greatest was diagnosed with a severe and terrible disease, Parkinson's. He became visibly sluggish and uncommunicative. He spoke poorly, his vision and hearing significantly deteriorated. The same went for his motor functions, which stopped working correctly. His incurable disease was the result of his rich and eventful career.
Dr. Stanley Fahn, a neurologist specializing in Parkinson's, was the first doctor to diagnose his condition. It was 1984.
I saw immediately he had a masked face, that is, decreased expression, he had decreased blinking, and he had a typical Parkinson tremor.
Parkinson's is most common in older adults. Ali was only 42.
I thought some of the symptoms were too early for classical Parkinson's disease, and that this was most likely going to be due to some trauma, multiple traumas to the head.
In 1998, Muhammad began working with actor Michael J. Fox, who also suffered from Parkinson's, to raise awareness and fund research for its treatment. They jointly appeared before Congress to promote the cause and give it public attention.
What do you see? An actor? An athlete? How about two people who share a common illness? No different than the millions of others with Parkinson's disease. Except maybe we can capture your attention, raise money, help scientists find a cure this decade. Look again, you'll see two people who won't stop fighting until there's a cure.
I'm still bad. I believe I'll make a comeback.
The ailment did not stop the legend from dedicating the rest of his life to charity, public affairs, and politics. The champion's body suffered, but his mind remained sharp and his heart kind. It's hard to count how many books have been written about this man and how many films have been made and released, simply because his personal contribution to the development of the world is invaluable.
What does this, having this film out now, mean to you in your life, at this time in your life?
It means people who don't really know much about me, it'll tell them more about who I am. They'll understand more about the legend of Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay. And it's a big honor. It makes me feel good that somebody take the time to make a movie about my life. And it makes you a humble feeling.
Wow.
The legendary boxer lived to the age of 74. He passed away on June the 3rd, 2016. He was hospitalized the day before with a respiratory illness. Although Muhammad's condition was initially described as satisfactory, it worsened over time, and the next day, Ali left this world from septic shock. In the last years of his life, the greatest had lost the ability to speak and care for himself. Fortunately, he was surrounded by a loving family that supported him throughout all these years, providing care and affection. After Ali's death, he trended on all social media platforms for over 12 hours, and various news portals covered his life events for several days. Major news channels widely highlighted the key moments of this man's life and recalled all the boxer's achievements. Muhammad was mourned worldwide. Many politicians, athletes, public figures, and well-known personalities expressed their grief and paid tribute to one of the most significant figures in human history.
Dear Lonnie, family, friends, Mr. President, members of the clergy, all of these amazing people here in Louisville. Today, this outpouring of love and respect proves that 35 years after he stopped fighting, he is still the champion of the world.
Epilogue.
I get emotional now. Because he gave up the greatest title in the world, being a man of his conviction. And if I can be half that man, he is the greatest.
Love with that, but most of all, I was in love with the fact that he was, to me,
the bravest and most indomitable of all of the advocates for racial equality in that difficult and spirited time. And so, you know, he's been embedded in my heart ever since. The very first live prize fight I ever attended was Cassius Marcellus Clay versus Sonny Liston, February 25, 1964.
Oh, he was the greatest man I ever met. To say he was the greatest boxer is a put down. He was bigger than boxing. He was bigger than anything.
How can you see a motherfucker and a motherfucker inspire you like this? Don't even touch you. Don't say a word to you.
Yeah.
To this day, I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, I would put Ali as the greatest all-time human being. I mean, it's easy as a fight fan to focus on him as a fighter, but when you focus on him as a human and you think about what he meant at that time and place, the things he said, the poems he came up with, you know, just the overall brilliance of Muhammad Ali, the guts to have the strength mentally, physically, and emotionally to go against the grain at the time that he did it. It was a very dangerous time for him to be who he was.
Muhammad Ali is a personality of an entirely different order than all those we have previously covered in documentaries. We have examined many performers, sports representatives, and other people connected to martial arts, but we have never encountered a person of such scale in every sense of the word. He is an incredible, unparalleled, unique, unyielding, infallible, and simply great icon figure who left a massive mark on human history, not just in sports but in life as a whole. He is the bravest person on earth, the most spirited, charismatic, and strong, no matter how cliche that sounds. He never thought for a moment about the consequences that could await him both in sports and in life because he followed his convictions. He was devoted to his word and his heart, to his people, and he fought for them until his last days. Every area of life that Ali participated in moved forward and took a decisive turn as soon as he put his hand to it. A deeply religious and principled person, Muhammad will forever remain in our hearts as a valiant warrior who fought throughout his life's journeys. It is impossible to find enough fitting words to describe his importance and greatness properly. From a sporting perspective, he is a role model for billions, for the entire population of our vast world. An Olympic Games champion, a 6-time Boxer of the Year, a member of the Boxing Hall of Fame and the International Boxing Hall of Fame, the most famous boxer in history, and this list can go on endlessly. Muhammad Ali's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is the only one located on the Dolby Theatre wall, not on the sidewalk. This person's authority continues to grow even after his death and will do so until the end of time. Again, as a world champion and public figure, Ali has been the subject of numerous publications, books, films, and other materials. More works have been written about him than any other person, and all these are well-deserved fruits of the tireless efforts for which he was known in life. At the end of today's film, we will quote a poem by Muhammad especially for you. And on that note, we will conclude this great and incredibly fascinating journey. We don't have much life, and it will soon pass, but do something for God, and it will never die.
It says, the face of truth is open, the eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed, the head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward, the gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt, truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching, the voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple, all you sow you reap. The soul of truth is flaming, the heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain and storm. Facts are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.